present. First item up would be minutes from the previous meeting. These are the ones you wrote, right?
Yep.
I didn't notice anything.
I didn't either.
I moved to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is approved. Next item on the agenda, items for public comment. Anyone in the waiting room?
Making sure we got nobody up there. Nope.
Finding no one from the public here, we'll move on to the next item, which is items for discussion, starting with FAA and IDOT projects.
Okay.
Take your time.
FAA threw us an 11th hour curveball. Our approach flight is now scheduled for November 3rd.
Oh, what the?
Exactly. We are working with the contractor to delay the critical pieces of painting and things that would shut down the approach to further into late September, early October, so we don't sit with no approach for 3 months. I will know a lot more tomorrow when we sit down with everybody to figure out what that schedule looks like. There's still a lot of work they can do, in the interim, in terms of the lighting and the PAPIs and pavement rehab. It's also, we're trying to match up their schedule so they're not bringing stuff in, leaving, coming back. And we're racking up some of those costs. So that's where we're at.
2.5 is the approach that needs to be reflown and recharted. 3 zeros unimpacted, correct?
Everything will be flown on 1-3, so the night circling things also get delayed.
Sure.
But
What I mean is, like, if we had a situation where we were without an approach on 2.5, because that's where the bulk of the work is taking place, minus vaccine and all that stuff. 3 zero is still a viable approach. It's not getting recharted.
during the day it is right now. Like,
Yeah, right.
Not to mention VOR alpha.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, yeah.
does VOR Alpha have a restriction on circling at night?
I don't believe so.
That's a great question.
I'll look it up.
it's been a while since I've looked at the VOR Alpha approach. I'm not sure.
Actually, I think it probably does.
I presume it does
Yeah, I
because
think
everything
it
else
does.
has circling approaches.
Because what's interesting is if you shoot the approach to 3-0 at night, you can't do a straight in landing to 3-0. You can circle to runway 25, but you can't circle to any other runways.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
sort
it
of-
has the same restriction.
It's,
it does, yeah.
The VOR alpha does, yeah.
Can you circle to 2.5?
It does allow you to circle, well, yes,
Okay,
yes, you can. It only restricts you from 7, 12, and 3 0.
gotcha.
very interesting. Of course, 2.5 won't be available, so hey.
Yeah, circle.
Well, I guess if it's
at night.
it's
At night it
visual,
will be.
it's visual at that time.
There's only a
so-
short period of time where when they remarked and that, they can't,
Right,
then it will be closed even at night. That's the time it should be open at night.
right.
But we do have a, what is the circle? Circle to 2.5 from the 3 0.
At night.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Bigger circle. I'm just trying to, like, how much is this for us? Like, if we had a situation.
It's not great. It's manageable at this point. Like, we're still going to be in the same situation we were if it was in August, where we're going to be down. We're going to be down for 3 or 4 weeks from the paint to when the approach is flown anyway, just because we have to paint it, we have to survey it and verify it's where we said it was going to be and give that data to the FAA. And then they process it and do the approach check. And
And the reason for this had to do with the chart deadline, is that correct? You somehow missed.
ATC requested a couple more items to be in the en route charts. I don't know beyond that why it would force a delay. We also did have a couple of obstruction trees that for some reason FAA can't seem to delete out of their system, so we've got to go in and remark those that we've removed them.
So on the in route that ATC requested, was that after the cutoff date for publishing?
I don't know when they requested it,
Okay.
so
Just trying to figure out, I know we're getting to the end here, and the end won't matter here, but just where the ball got dropped. And then from a current situation, right, there's still no nighttime restrictions on 2.5 for both straight and
Correct.
circling approach.
Yeah, there were
Correct.
no restrictions on straight line.
And you still can do circling approach on 2.5.
No, you're still 2.5 circling to other runways. I think you're limited to everything. Because 12, do they have 7 open?
7's not open.
Yeah, okay.
You can't even fly the 2.5 approach and circle.
Yeah.
So 2.5 is at night is strictly straight in.
Strictly straight in. Check with the FAA on that because they're different. They interpret it differently.
Okay.
So.
So, do we have any prolonged? Are we going to have any prolonged closures of either the intersection, which I'm guessing no, because that was a very fixed window anyway for.
And that still remains a fixed window, and that's only paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what shifts or what, are we still on time for the June 15th, 16th start date? And we're just kind of,
I think that's going to shift. I don't think they're going to want to start right away. That's a lot of the information I'll have tomorrow, and I'll be able to shoot out an update. But from the conversations we had the other day with the contractor, it's likely a lot of things shift by that month and a half or so. And it sounded like they might start the project later. Now, Carl,
Part of that, the only thing that, it's up to the contractor, whether they come in and do part of it and then come back and finish that threshold relocation about a month before it's flown. The other thing that's an issue, and we don't know, but we should know again, as Mike mentioned tomorrow, is the FAA has to schedule their people to come and watch while the new PAPIs are being built. And they had them scheduled to show up next week. Whether they can adjust their schedule, if they can't, and they say, no, we gotta do it, they can come out and work on the PAPI now, but it's not gonna affect, not gonna affect your approaches.
yeah, and they would just install it, not turn it on, and the old
That's-
one would remain in service.
That's
until-
that's our goal, yeah. And in fact, what the other goal is Mike mentioned, we want to delay moving the threshold until, which would change the approach.
Change the approach,
As
right.
close as we can to when they're gonna fly it, but we do need about 3 to 4 weeks to survey it, get that data input to the FAA to confirm everything's the way it is. And so they can do they could actually install all of the new lights, and on the edge lights, they could remove all the old ones, and we'd have a little bit non-standard edge light spacing, and just leave the old threshold lights and the painting
Oh,
on.
that's kosher,
That-
non-standard
as long as
spacing,
you-
as long as you have a.
As long as you note them that they are.
Okay.
But it's the threshold lights are what determines the approach.
Sure.
And then
And the
at the
paint.
last, when they shut it down to repaint it, when it's time to move the threshold, then they just turn on the new threshold lights, the new reels, turn off the old ones and pull the old threshold lights and reels and remark it, and we're good.
So it's the paint, which obviously can't be staged.
Right.
It's the threshold lights. As soon as those things change, the approach plate turns to a pumpkin and we've got to have it.
Until
flown.
the new ones are perfect.
Mhm.
Okay,
But we had about a month in that window anyway, even if it was in August. Because we have to build a little bit of time in there to go through that process. So it slips, if there's a disadvantage, it's that as you get later in the season, we can't push it too late where it gets too cold to paint.
right.
And also it does get dark earlier, so you're gonna have more downtime with it dark as opposed to during the day. But an advantage would be, and our concern was the football season, but after October, we didn't want to do it before October 1st anyway, because you've got till November 3rd or whatever, to have the approach. And October 1st, the Hawkeyes play Michigan, and then they have 2 away games and a bye week the next 3 weeks. So there's a really nice window in there somewhere between the 3rd and the 15th for them to come in and knock all of that stuff out without impacting football traffic. And the timing is right for an early November flying.
And has the FAA confirmed that flight date? Because I know that we had the, like, Well, I thought we had the date, like, we knew that it was gonna get flown X date or range, and it was going to be in the September chart cycle. So do we have confirmation from FAA that November is on their calendar?
That, I mean, that's the information they've given us, so, yeah.
They gave the date.
Okay,
It was like November 3rd or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's, right.
swell.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the threshold and the East End rehab update. And like I said, tomorrow we've got the contractors in-house. So we're all sitting down up here for a while and hammering out just exactly what that new schedule looks like and be able to.
It would be neat, maybe after this is all said and done, dust is settled, to make a timeline of this whole project, of when they notified us about the obstructions, and when they told us they needed to do this, when you remove the obstructions, how long it took them to recognize they're removed, how long it went without approaches and all that stuff, so we could tell them, hey, this is a problem. You know, but I don't know who you'd even hand it to, but I mean, it's, you wouldn't do this. This isn't like a normal thing to do without circling for 4 years, at least 2 years, you know, probably 4 years, actually, thinking through it, you know.
Oh, yeah, it's been.
Yeah.
It's been a
it's
while.
long time.
Yeah.
Been able to fly it.
So anyway.
All right, any other discussion on the East End rehab?
Nothing productive.
Move on to 2.5 threshold relocation.
The good news is we have the grant offer from the FAA. So we'll have money to pay for all of this.
With that, we need a motion for a resolution to accept that grant.
I move that we consider resolution accepting FAA grant 3-19-004. Do I have to read all of this, Jennifer?
You should.
Okay, 0047-34-2002,
Oops, that should be 2022. Sorry,
2022,
typo.
822-18.
We have a motion, is there a second? We have a second, take roll call. Chris? Electra?
Aye.
Warren?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
Scott, aye. Motion carries. Resolution passes. All right, next up is 17 hanger.
Okay, more gut punches. So we went out for bids for this. Actually, the bids came in pretty decent. We still only had 2 bidders, but we were already behind the 8 ball. Just the way the state program works, because we have to ballpark the estimate, then go after the grant, and then we pay to design it, which is where the better estimate comes into play. Unfortunately, our bids came in roughly about 10% higher than even the engineer's estimate, which is in the range of where we would typically be able to award something. And I did have some money kind of set aside between COVID and CIP grants that helps cover some of that stuff. So in this case, the bids we got, the low bid was actually about $100,000 above where we needed it to be. That was just a bit too much. So what I'm recommending tonight, because we are, Carl and I are working on a addendum, and the plan is to cut out roughly cut out one of those sections of concrete and do the longer of the 2. We're fine tuning that a little bit more, because after we cut just basically cut the segment out and the associated storm sewer, we were still a little bit too high to go rebid. And if you want to pass those out, you're certainly welcome to, so people can see what we're talking about. So we're going to take another crack at some of that storm sewer that's in the existing one, and shrink some of that down, and maybe shorten it by a panel, just to come up with that window and kind of get a project that we're going to bid that's about $300,000. Which
DOT would be okay with.
DOT is okay with that. I've already had the conversation with the state for both of our state funded projects. Doing this piece still gives us the best opportunity to have hangers on both sides of it, Now, if you were to build a hangar on the west side of it, your doors are facing not quite the right way, but we have a number of T hangars that have the doors facing that same direction. Everybody likes western facing doors because in the winter that gets the most sun.
Let me pass these out to you.
Yeah, sure. So that's basically what we're working on, and we couldn't quite get the addendum and the deletions in play for the meeting tonight. So what I'm gonna ask the commission to do is to defer the resolution till the next meeting. And we will have an addendum that kind of reconfigures the project to that single strip and storm sewer.
And the reason for not doing it all the way up to the hangars is before that, the hangar foundation.
Correct. That would be that strip, that the hangar tenant would have to retake out to do footings and
So right now, you're back to, you're looking at shortening it to how long?
just by a square or two,
Yeah.
so 10 feet, 12 feet.
Oh, okay. There'll still be like 200 plus feet long.
Yeah, yeah,
Then it would still fit the size hanger you'd like to put
Yeah.
there. Okay.
you've already.
Yeah, that's right. It's 228 feet before, so it might be
So you get 4 hanger doors,
something.
looks like.
Yeah, if you did 50 by 50s or even a T hanger of that size, if they're nested, I think I think you're still at 4 doors. Because you're at 40. Yeah,
As long as the wheels roll out on pavement, right?
that's kind of the
Even
sentiment.
if the wings hang onto the grass.
Do we have a plan? It's gonna get congested. Everything's gonna kind of come together for that one entryway out onto around Bravo. Do we have a long-term plan to bring this apron on out?
Well, ultimately, there's plans for a parallel to 1230 that we could then take and extend something from the south side of that complex.
Because it almost lines up with the bottom end of 30 now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, and that's gonna get, 3-0 is gonna get extended.
That's right. it got
Yeah,
extended.
30 gets another 300 feet on that end, I think.
We were looking at it, at actually move some storms out of the way so that if the parallel is built and there's an easy one from that center one we're building, there's an easy extension out to that parallel.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
But this wouldn't be building the center one, right? This would be building the.
we're building the center one.
Oh, the center one.
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
one. Okay, so that's the one you would be building something. out
And
of.
that, well, it's the most, it would funnel the most traffic in because you
Yeah.
come from
Right.
both directions.
Right.
Yeah,
And you wouldn't want every one to go out. I mean,
yeah, sure.
But, so again, we're looking at making sure that the storm sewer is not in the way if that ever comes, wants to be done.
And this future parallel taxiway would only go from the end of 30 up to taxiway Bravo. is that right?
Well, I mean, our master plan calls for a full parallel to
Okay.
1230.
Okay.
Now, whether that happens in phases or,
I was gonna
we
say, if
get,
that's all you got, that would be 90% of what you need.
yeah.
It would be, yeah,
Parallel, big one just from the end of 3-0. I mean, that would,
to
be-
Bravo.
That
yeah.
one too.
that would be
Or
helpful.
all the way to
Yeah.
Alpha.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then you could go from Alpha all the way up and.
yeah. Committee members, Alpha is the long skinny one parallel to the long one.
Bravo's the one that goes-
Yeah, Bravo is the short one that goes across the front of the turn lane. Where the ramp is.
So that's the plans for that. If anybody has questions or comments or
And that would-
other ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And they're all the way
so
down
I
there.
asked Cindy again,
Mhm.
Is this the new set of quotes in the packet? Or is this, we have to quote this one now?
So this whole. thing
In the
is all the way
packet,
back.
the bid tab that's in the packet are the bid tabs, the bids that we received.
So he's talking
Right,
about
and
a
those
parallel
were on
taxiway here
the
that would
original
go all
plan.
the way perhaps to
Yes.
Alpha.
Right, the two different concrete sets.
Yes.
And
This
so-
one,
Right. People
what we're
plan
trying to
to
do for
turn
this
off the
package is get that engineer's estimate to $300,000.
Gotcha, so move
Right
the
now,
east
we have to,
path.
for parked here, we have to taxi
You
up
go
and
with the
back
west
taxi
path.
to the end of 30, then
These
turn
paths are
around and
with
take
the
off
guard.
that way.
Because there were two
And that
pads you
clogs
wanted
up
for
the
Yep.
originally, right?
There's two paths where we're building the east side one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So you need a resolution from us to reject the current bids?
Well, right now, we're just asking for a deferral. That way we can maintain doing all of this in one link.
Okay,
The bid documents give us 60 days to hold the bids. If we were gonna award them, we can do the same thing for rejecting them too. But then that way it keeps all of that project together. So if anybody's, I guess, watching or looking at it, we won't have to go through another public hearing process. It'll just be, we approve the addendum and then it goes out for rebid.
do you need anything from us then?
Motion to defer is what I do need.
And that's just a voice or it's on a roll call, vote, just a.
No, I don't think you need a roll call to do that. You have just a motion to defer this agenda item, resolution to reject and authorize the addendum. as
Okay, I
such
see.
to rebid.
All right, so basically what we're asking for is a motion to defer this item.
Right.
All right, I move that we defer discussion of the agenda item regarding the bids for the South Hangar Infrastructure Project until our next meeting.
All right, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
You can't give her all the seconds.
All right, next item is hangar door A.
Okay, this one had more problems. We received a single bid on it, and I am convinced it was a token bid because the individual door price was $47,000 a door.
Oh, my God. Are they
So.
golden doors?
I honestly, I don't have a good path forward with this. We went out to bid, we went through the bid process like we did because it was already borderline for the required, bid process to have plans and specs and do a formal bid, all of that stuff. We can go out for rebid and do a single door with the alternates being door number 2, 3, 4. However, because we only had one bidder on the project, I don't know that we get anybody else.
Are we getting to a point where the only doors we can get are gonna be pre-manufactured doors that go on the buildings?
Not necessarily. I mean, the way we wrote the specs, somebody could build the door. There are companies out there that would pre-manufacture for 40 feet.
That would build the door, or would fabricate the door?
Yeah.
But they're not bidding.
But they're not bidding. The companies that I can think of that have taken a look at it are the ones that would supply the door to somebody else or would be more than happy to come in and do that piece, but they don't want to touch any of the other, the electrical work or anything like that. So it becomes a complicated mess on trying to,
We just need to find a general to handle it.
yeah.
Right. So how about these overhead door companies, the ones that actually come and service our hangars? Would they order and install a door?
I mean, the plans were out there.
Yeah, they didn't bid, they elected. to bid.
Yeah. We can keep calling around and see why some of these folks didn't bid on it. I think a lot of it, my gut feeling on a lot of it is just the material pricing, because now we're sheet metal and all of that fun stuff. And even engineering has had similar issues where contractors that are dealing, especially in metal, don't want to give you a price that's good for, more than a couple of days because the market is so outrageous. I think it's just a bad time to be doing
Metal doors.
construction like this.
The exact same thing happened in Algona just a couple weeks ago, where I was told Mike, I was concerned we might not even get a bidder.
So that being said,
Did they get any bidders for their
Well,
project?
they got 2, but they were both the same percentage high. They were just ridiculous high, so they rejected.
Gotcha. Were they like manufacturers of the doors or were
No,
they
they were generals,
generals? Gotcha.
same as this.
Sure.
So the problem that we have with the current bidder is that they were only the door, but not the.
The current bidder is a general contractor, so they would cover everything,
Right.
but the price is about 3 times higher than it should be.
Actually, this doesn't surprise me. It's, we see the same thing.
Yeah.
On the residential side.
I mean, it's just a really bad time to do a project like this, and I don't know that rebidding it in the next couple of months does us any good.
So what do we do with the state grant?
Well, so this is where it gets a little bit more complicated because the state really hates changing projects. That should be expected because they have an award metric system, and if you're not doing the project you applied for, if you're trying to change the money, you're messing with their award system, and there's no saying you would have got the money or not gotten the money if you had applied for project B. Now they're happy to work with us in this case. Like if we really wanted to rebid for a single door with extra alternates, they're happy to wait for it and extend, grant deadlines if we need to, because we are supposed to have it under contract within a year after we get the grant. The other part of that conversation was they weren't far enough along in the evaluation of this year's FY23, the grant program, to know whether or not we were going to be recommended for phase 2. Because that was a part of the conversation as well. Well, if you think you're giving me money for phase 2, maybe we can combine all of that rebid.
But what's the point of doing a single door though?
Well, that's just it. I don't know that there is.
Or spend $80,000 on those buildings for each door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, when you
that-
start talking that kind of money, be putting that toward the building.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I don't think it's a great use of anybody's money, ours or the state's.
Yeah, I agree.
But the other half of that is we know we've got the mural that we've been trying to do out there. We could still go forward with the mural on the building as it is and just acknowledge that we're not doing the doors for another 10 years because we want the mural to have a life.
So what is the expected useful life of the doors we got?
I mean, the doors are,
Some max.
I was just gonna say that those doors have been the lowest maintenance doors on the
Yeah.
whole airport for their life. I mean, they
As-
don't break.
as far as usage, I would expect them easily to last another 10, 20 years.
You gotta work at it.
The-
So they're
the-
saying
They're
doors.
just a pain.
The issue,
They function.
the issue we have is because they're the chain pulley doors. And we have lost hanger tenants that we've offered these hangers to,
Really?
because it's too much and the risk of dropping a hanger
Yeah.
door.
I'm just gonna say, it would take a lot of rent to make up for an $80,000.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I
So I would, I mean,
Makes
this would be
sense to
just open
cancel
up
it.
discussion.
Yeah.
I just lower the rent on those hangers.
my objective here is, here's the options of what we have. Here's what the picture looks like. I don't have a good path forward to get the doors
Yes.
done. So
If-
do we want to try to fight and get them done? Or do we just
I would motion.
push it to the
that we
shelf?
Table this item for some time. I don't know, come back to it in maybe a year and see if things have changed.
Just one, before we table, just one question. Is there any way forward to motorizing the existing doors?
Not that I know of. I know we've had companies look at it and I don't remember completely why we couldn't. But I know they gave me some
Probably has to do
reasons.
with counterweight. or something.
Yeah.
Well,
A lot of it's counterweighting and not knowing because then you got to go through and strengthen the building supports and all of that fun stuff, because you're going to add a good chunk of weight to the whole building frame.
I see what Warren's saying though, you can almost mount a motor on the
Yeah.
ground
Yeah.
that runs that
That runs
same
that chain,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it'd be pretty hard to find somebody who's willing to do something commercially for that.
Yeah.
Now they got a moving thing that somebody get their hand caught in or
I
whatever.
mean, the door is already counterbalanced,
Exactly, yeah.
so it's not like there has
But
to.
it would be exposed.
It'd be
Like I said,
exposed.
Today, you got the chain, and so whatever you're doing, you've got to be moving that chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
I don't know.
And
Yeah.
then if we're gonna have them do a mural and then a year from now do something else. we need to
Well,
go
I think
longer
if
than
we're gonna
that.
do the mural and move forward on that end, I think we're
need to-
shelving this for probably
10
10
years.
years.
Yeah, I
So
think that's
Well, You've got a
reasonable.
huge waiting list for hangers, right? So people refuse the hanger, it's their tough luck, right?
I'm not saying that
Yeah, it's not
you
like,
know,
we-
that-
it's not like we're short of people wanting to
But-
put hangers.
that is a reason some people have turned down hangers. I'm not, yeah,
As
Yeah,
long as there's
so
other ones.
We've got a waiting list.
Yeah.
that skips them to the back of the line.
or takes them off the list.
All that works. So I'm fine with tabling this
Me too.
indefinitely. I'm fine with keeping the doors as is, especially because we've got the mural. We have some dependencies, right?
Mhm.
So do we just give the funds back to the state?
At this point, my recommendation would be to return the funds to the state and let them reprogram. We have a good relationship with the state. You know, when we do apply for funds, we typically get what we're applying for. You know, the state's been good to us, and I think it would be prudent for us to just,
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, make sure the state knows that we don't think this is a good use of their money.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it and hope they remember the next time.
Yeah.
well, at the same time, I don't know that we have anything good to replace the existing project that we applied for, because that was like 125,000 for phase two. I don't know if
Do
we
you
can,
think, they'd be amenable to taking some of those funds and just extending out the pad to the original length and returning whatever?
that, the problem with that is it's two different pots of money.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I can virtually guarantee that that's a no,
Okay,
because,
yeah, no, I
it's-
thought they were the same.
yeah, no.
I would imagine though that budgetarily, they're gonna end up with a whole bunch of people whose projects were way overbid from what they were. They're gonna get a lot of money coming back to them this year. Does that get reassigned this year? Or does that flow into next year's grant?
I don't know for that one, Matt, on how they
I
would
would
have
think
to
that
deal
they
with.
might Reassign some of it, because some of the projects may not have to do with maybe a rehab. I know there's some projects like where they're adding heat insulation to a hangar or something like that. And so that may not come in above what the estimates were by nearly as much as the ones that involve new construction. or civil.
Regardless, though, could we even apply for those monies in this fiscal year? I mean, if we give the money back, we'd still have to put in a new proposal, be at the back of the line, maybe even too late.
Yeah, that one is something I didn't really talk to Shane about. He's the state programmer for grants. He's kind of the person.
So if we send this money back and we say, yeah, we're not gonna do this, we also don't want to be in a position where we get awarded funds next year for hangar doors again, that we run
Aren't
into the
gonna
same
do.
problem with if we're deciding we're not gonna do that. So do we need to tell the state, hey, maybe not award this one?
Yeah, I will certainly communicate that if that's the consensus. Yeah,
Because
Sounds fine to me.
I mean, I will.
Phase two door project that we put in for grant proposals most recently was for that same
Yeah.
section, so.
in theory, between when we first planned this out, between this project and next year's project, normally we would have been able to do all 5 doors and the whole side would be done. However, situation being what it is, yeah.
So what, you're saying you're gonna have a lot of options. Projects, this money, this type of pot of money. What channels for it?
I mean, it's vertical infrastructure, so we've already applied for this year for the terminal, the Brock work and the wayfinding. Other hangar repairs, if we had something ready to go and kind of had a better idea of costs, we might be able to propose something like that, or even propose something to replace the 23 project that we applied for, the phase 2. But I don't know that.
There's one thing that's crossed my mind is, so hangar Mike that the airport owns now is a cable door. At one time, they offered the ability to upgrade that to straps. The cables on that big door, are always need adjusted and they end up fraying, and
Yeah.
straps are a lot safer and last longer. I don't know if that's something, I mean, that was 15,000 last I knew, so it's not a huge project, but you've also got 72 and 71 are the same style door with
Yeah.
also with cables. If you went after, the universities is a cable limit too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like your big doors that have the steel cables, which I don't know. Maybe that's something they would do, maybe it's not. It's at least a similar type of a project that would hopefully reduce some of your maintenance costs in the future.
It's, I mean, we can certainly throw the ask in and see what they say.
I'd be in favor of that, just talking to him about it.
Yeah, I'm fine with you talking to them. And then, you know, depending on what the answer comes back as, then, you know, just get the money back and.
Okay.
So I think what we need then is first of all, a resolution rejecting the bid, and then probably secondarily would be another motion to probably table the hangar door replacement projects.
I think so. That sound good, or do we want to?
Well, I
how do we
wonder
wanna-
If you want to defer this item as well, because I'm not sure if you want it, these would be different doors that you'd be talking about. I don't know that we could do an addendum on this project to fit that, probably not,
No.
right?
And no,
I don't
it would
think- I
have to
think
be a
that's what
whole
we
new.
asked.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think if you're sure that you wouldn't want to do anything with the hangar doors, even with an addendum, then I would do your resolution to reject.
Those,
the bid.
The north,
intended hanger doors that this bid was
Right.
for.
right.
Are we all in agreement?
I think if
I think so.
we can't do it now, waiting a year is not a good
It's not
thing.
gonna do it.
It's kind of a decade, like you said, a decade. And to your point, I mean, if these are our most maintenance-free doors.
I say that now they'll break tomorrow.
Okay,
This wood here.
so we need two things. We need
All
a
bills to Jetty.
resolution, this resolution
Reject.
rejecting the
Reject.
bids, and then we need a motion to table the idea of replacing those indefinitely.
Well, we don't necessarily need the motion to table the idea.
Okay,
It's
if
just,
we just-
we reject it.
if-
It's a
if we
dead
Bring
cut.
reject-
it back up whenever you.
Okay,
Correct.
sounds
whenever
good.
you want. And then probably you need a new agenda item next
Right.
month if you're gonna return the money or if
Right,
you're gonna do
right.
something
And
different
you're-
with that.
And you're gonna talk to Shane.
I'll give Shane a call tomorrow if he's in the
Well, why
office.
don't we just,
Okay.
we'll.
Okay,
give the
so,
resolution Reject, and we'll stop there and let you take it.
so I move that we adopt a resolution rejecting bids received on June 2nd, 2022 for the hangar 8 door replacement project.
Have a second? Second.
Second, yeah, sure. I'm not gonna
That's your
say
job.
I'll second.
No, do we have a second?
Oh.
Sorry. I'm ready, roll call, Lauren,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
Electra,
Oh.
Chris,
Aye.
Scott, aye. Resolution passes.
All right.
And then I think what you're getting is instruction from the committee to talk with the state, find out what the options are. But then.
If we can use it for some of those cable to strap switches, we'll move forward with that. Otherwise, we're just gonna give the money back.
And we'll just take
We-
this off.
We'd also talked about generator hookups on all the hangars.
Yeah,
If we
that's
vertical.
gonna be way too far out of the, too much of a change.
Okay, that's fine. I was just trying to think of anything that was vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't,
Those are so low down the priority list for GA airports that
Yeah,
I can't say they wouldn't, but I have never seen them from one.
sure.
we can still make the same safety arguments that we have for the hangar A door switch over as with the wire to straps, that I think it matches kind of those intentions of having safer doors. We'll see what the state says. And yeah, it sounds like if in lieu of that, you just make it easy, give the money back, and we'll
With an ass.
plan accordingly.
All right. Well, if there's no more discussion on DOT and FAA projects, we move on to airport operations.
All right, Airport Commission Handbook. I've got the semblance of a book downstairs at some point. I mean, it's really thin right now, but a lot of the documentation is online, and I'm kind of torn between having a bunch of printouts and just trying to work with the city, give the chair. At one point in time, the chair actually had a login and an account with the city where you could get into the city network.
Okay.
And then the commission quit using it, so we kind of let IT delete everything and quit paying for it. But that might be something we reinstitute and
Makes sense.
then all of those policies and everything that a lot of folks have been asking about are right there readily available. And I don't have to have a 3-ring binder for you that's that thick.
That would be nice.
So
In your handbook, do you have references to those materials? Or
there will be. I'm trying to figure out how to best do that. If it's just print off cover pages, like here's the things that exist,
that probably
or
Could be.
you know, and that's something I.
Handwritten, here's
Judy,
your
maybe-
Username and password.
Yeah. Yeah, basically something like that where we can sit down sometime and just walk through what we've got, where it is, and how to record all of that in the binder so that it's just easy for people to find.
Mhm.
Because presumably this is going to be a binder that gets shared along as commission people change. So
That's good. Thanks for doing that.
it's getting there, a little slower than I expected, but it's getting there.
All right.
Iowa Region Sports Car Club. Okay, so the autocross group that uses the runway for their, lack of better term, racing. It came to me a little while ago about doing runway maintenance work down there because it is gravelly and kind of getting chewed up a little bit more. I told them naturally we don't have any plans to do anything because we've got a bunch of other areas that need attention. So they asked about doing stuff on their own. I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, okay, well, I mean, we're kind of paying you $300 now. Can we just do that in lieu of a fee? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm good with that. So this is the agreement that kind of memorializes that conversation, gives them access to the airport for another couple of years. And allows them to do kind of patchwork maintenance on the runway as they deem necessary for operating their courses.
They're presumably not going to be pouring oil onto the old pavement where it'll run onto our runway.
No, actually, the stuff they want to use is pretty similar to some of the pavement patching that airports use already. It's what they've shown me. It starts out as a powder, and you basically just set it on fire until it hits like 500 degrees, and it solidifies into hardened stuff.
Cool.
It's weird. It works, but it's weird.
Did you set our powders on fire?
No,
Patch
because
our runways?
it's expensive and
It's like, I kind of want to see us patch the runway. That sounds
Okay,
great. And we don't use that. I know that we've used, I think I remember that we've used the northern end of what was 1836 for like Young Eagles flights or something.
yeah, that would be the midsection, if you will, the stuff that's kind of straight out by
Mhm.
the weather equipment.
Yeah, so that this doesn't have any ramifications.
No, they're still their area is still south of 1230.
Actually, everything's south of the field line.
Yeah, south of the safety area.
okay. So we're using this resolution on page 75.
Mhm.
So I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the chairperson to execute an agreement between the Iowa City Airport Commission and the Iowa Region Sports Car Club of America.
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. Chris.
Aye.
Electra.
Aye.
Judy.
Aye.
Warren.
Aye.
Scott, aye. Resolution's approved. Budget.
All right, budget. We are in the last month of the fiscal year. Yay! All in all, budget looks fine. I don't expect any other high ticket items in the last couple of weeks of the month, but I know we have had our hits of hangar heaters in the winter and a couple other bigger ticket items and with the new fiscal year change, I don't believe we had any super high projects in there. In terms of capital outlay, we've got some computers that we're going to replace. That one and another one downstairs. But it's never too early to start thinking about, I guess it'd be FY 24's budget. So if there's any particular items of interest or things that you want to see in the budget, those materials will be out in a couple of months, and we'll go through the same process we have in the past. And if I know we've got some items we want to look at, I can get some pricing and figure out if we can.
Are there any
Yeah.
items that you think we need to? have been in the budget?
For the, nah, I mean, not,
Wish list items, something like the box blade or
Second truck.
I'm sure,
And
Matt-
beside
yeah,
that-
Matt's probably got a couple of wish list items. I don't know that there's gonna be anything that we could easily, even not easily, but even relatively fit into the budget. But yeah, I can put some thoughts together on parking lot. If we get wayfinding grants, we'll have a lot of that taken care of. I mean, it's, yeah, actually, hangar painting.
Oh, yeah,
Good.
good call.
Yeah. I knew I had something in the back of my head. So, yeah, stuff like that.
Well, I'm assuming just like everything else, that the runway de-icer stuff will be more expensive,
Probably,
just like everything else. Cause that's urea based, urea is going up.
it's potassium something,
Okay, maybe it's not.
NAC and AC, potassium, no,
Oh, acetate.
acetate, yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
So maybe it's not, but everything's going up.
No, we don't use urea base because that's salt. I mean, that's salty.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Unless you, I mean, your maintenance guys might like it. It'll jump the activity in the maintenance shop quite
Eventually, it's a
Eventually.
long-term play.
a.
So I don't know if it fits in the budget, but we did sign the agreement for the foundation.
Yep.
Johnson County Foundation, so we have that being set up now.
Oh, good.
Yep.
So that's something we'll want to follow up on some point as we start getting our plan together for gathering donations. And again, it could be general. It doesn't necessarily need to be for the art. It could be anything that. We probably ought to talk about that now that we've got it, maybe getting proactive about making sure that potential donors are aware.
Yeah.
They could make donations and get the.
Set up some type of marketing announcement.
Maybe on the website. That might be a place just to, and again, we can look at other entities that have foundations that you can give to, just kind of see what they're doing and make sure that's.
Aside from the mural painting, we don't really have any other projects to advertise yet.
No.
But hopefully soon we'll have this design ideas for the terminal and approach area.
Yeah.
That's what we really ought to emphasize.
AEDs and all of the
All that's-
hangars,
In all the hangars?
well, major areas, maintenance
Areas where it's
hangar
supposed
and
to be.
here and.
Certainly here in the terminal building, I would think, and maybe over in the maintenance
Maintenance
shop.
center would be good too.
Yeah.
I imagine CARES got.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although that does bring up the AED topic for the budget. Judy has tracked down the foundation that does that, and for $750, we can get an AED for the terminal building.
Wow, that's great.
They're the $2,000 ones if you buy it over the system, but there's a foundation.
Huh.
The
Oh, that's a good
Cardiology
idea.
Herder Foundation, that'll do it for $750.
Yep.
And
Wow.
unless we were 501c, and that would be 500. But, and they have them, and all they need would be a check sent to them, and then they could get it installed right away. They have them on hand.
That's awesome.
Would we
Great.
have a budget for that?
I mean, we have the cash for it. It's technically not a budgeted item. So if the commission would like to go forward, give me a nod. Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
fine with that.
I would
Okay.
say we get two of them.
Yeah.
One for here and one for the maintenance. Hanger, just to
Okay.
cover our bases. Make sure people know where they're at. So.
Well, and they also provide a training
Mhm.
if,
Huh?
if you want, I don't know
Would they
when
come
the-
here and
they
train?
would come here and train here.
It'd be great to,
Yeah.
I mean, for you guys, I mean, you're the ones
Yeah.
who are here all the time. You can go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that'd
Work
be
with,
great.
we can work with Matt to coordinate that so that the folks that are
Yeah.
typically around are
They have
knowledgeable.
volunteers that come and do that, and I think actually somebody from the CARES ambulance one would be one of the volunteers, so
Yeah.
might be able to just have them
Yeah.
come and do it. They have 4 dummies that they have and that you work on.
And the care people are great. I mean, when they've done their own CPR training and stuff, they've invited all of our employees to come up to sit through the same thing and get certified and all that stuff. So several of us are. I did it a year or two ago. Probably expired now, but it's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
That sounds like, I mean, of the things that we could spend the cash on hand on, that one seems like a pretty worthwhile one.
And then, did get that contract from you, but I haven't had a chance to look at
Okay.
it closely. There's the filming agreement. You know when they want to film?
They haven't given me a date yet.
Probably soon as the weather's nice, so, yeah. I'll try to get on that even tomorrow.
Yeah, the last time I had talked to him, he was still thinking late June, July, so coming up. But I haven't heard from him since a month ago, so.
Anything else before we jump to events?
Just budget wise, I realize this is more of a DOT thing, but the door vinyl is on Friday, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow,
Oh,
tomorrow, Friday.
nice. For the west doors?
All the
All
doors.
Okay.
So that's
That'd be
looking
good to see.
forward to that.
Yeah.
hoping to have it done before the meeting, but
Nice.
things do happen. I promise. Yeah, so that's getting done tomorrow and we're waiting for the DOT grants for the rest of it.
Rest of it. Good.
Speaking of grants, on page 7 of our agenda, there's this thing authorizing the chairman to accept the FAA grant. It's not specifically what we have resolved. And the reason I ask is I have this email saying, please sign this grant.
Under the bottom, if you scroll down. No, go back up, that number 1.
Yeah.
Yep, go down a little bit right there. No, go down towards the end of the page.
Okay. Yeah, we just didn't say that in the resolution.
Yeah. So the resolution authorizes the chairperson or the designee.
Okay, so I will ignore that email since I'm not the chair any longer.
Well, as the designee, you can still sign it. I think it's easier to have you
You want
sign
me to
it.
sign
Yeah. And then hopefully by the
Okay.
time we get
Once you've
to,
been designated, you never, yeah.
hopefully by the time we get the next grant, the FAA will
Because
have it
in the
updated
following
because I
page eight,
presume
there's
will
this
be.
Letter saying, you know, that
Yeah.
you damn well better be the authorized representative who signs this or you're in big trouble.
You're
So,
good.
1001, you go to jail.
yeah, right, yeah, okay, so I'm putting my neck on the line for you guys.
Thank you
I'll visit
kindly.
you.
Yeah, I'll visit. you.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
All right, anything else? Events?
Events are updated on the calendar, a couple more autocrosses, drive-in movies. Pancake breakfast is now on the list. I think that might be all we have for the year. I know a lot of the Young Eagles stuff is scheduled and until we figure out what's going on with the runaway, I don't want to really worry too much about getting them down here because
After tomorrow.
Other
We need a list.
other than the pancake breakfast, I mean, have we ever hosted any other kinds of fly-ins? I know Galesburg has your big Stearman fly-in and.
we've done, I mean, not anything consistently. So a couple of.
100th anniversary.
Yeah, a couple of, like, we've done open houses, we've done specific events like the 100-year, and we've done a Fly Iowa. We've partnered with a couple of years. We had the, what did they call themselves? The antique air club? No.
Oh, yeah. They brought in.
They brought in like 20 different antique air, like Stearman and those 1920s eras. did rides. Occasionally I mean, a lot of it's been more pop-up stuff, but we'll get, because people know the community will turn out when they show up, like the Tri-Motor will appear on a random weekend or a DC3 will appear on a random weekend.
They're
But
starting to get back in. We kind of had 2 years off of that.
yeah,
But we're kind of on their regular rotation where we had the DC3 and within 2 years we had the, like you said, the Tri-Motor. Had the Women's Air Race Classic start here, almost. Wow.
almost, yeah. We've had the Air Race Classic almost start here. We've been a pass-through stop mid-race. I'm still trying to get them to make us an end stop. So we have the start was okay, except right before the start, like a storm system developed over the Dakotas, which was their second stop, and just stayed there. So they actually started at waypoint number 3. They bypassed all of it, and I think it was Nebraska they went to. Yeah, so it was interesting. But it was a mess. The being a mid-route stop, it's hit or miss if anybody, like it's a normal weekend if anybody comes.
Right.
Because everybody's trying to race to the end and get there. And
Until we have the dates, we can't really set something up.
yeah, and then they
What's
set
going
up
on
these
anyway.
routes. They set up these routes like several years in advance. Like they know the next 5 years worth of races. So it's
Talking with Minetta about that.
I've brought it up to her a couple of
she's
times,
big
but
shot
yeah.
in that organization.
Yeah. Because having that endpoint is where you get the fuel sales, you get the downtown visits and that, yeah. So if there is something that folks want to do, or if there's some ideas, I mean, we're certainly happy to talk to Jet Air a little bit and see what we can do and arrange and mutually support.
We usually, when we get a call at any of our 3 airports about the Tri-Motor or any of the other ones, then we say, hey, and you need to stop in Iowa City for 2 days, or you're on the front end or the back end and try to get it tied in with the other spots.
Right.
Because Burlington typically has a really good turnout. They do Burlington pretty regular with some of that stuff.
Anything else on operations?
Actually, yes, this one didn't make the agenda, but if you haven't noticed in the viewing area, we have 2 brand new picnic tables. They were donations from the family of one of our former student pilots and a former employee of Jet Air. That's in dedication to the matriarch of the family that passed away a couple of years ago.
I wasn't aware. Oh, was
Mary?
that from the Enos?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I've got a little plaque, and next Friday, the 17th at noon, we're gonna do like a little lunch, thank you.
That's nice.
Hang a plaque up on the shelter that says, picnic tables donated by the family. That's actually sitting in my office.
That's
So-
awesome. I had no idea. I just noticed them out there today, actually. They're bright blue, nice looking tables out there.
Good.
So if any of the commission folks want to come,
Well, that's when you have to go look at them.
Send us an email.
Yeah.
I'll try to come.
We ready for FBO?
we're good.
All right, man.
It's our, listing of that. Big thing for, this is back in May, we were mowed like crazy with our zero turn, and then May 20th, our brand new zero turn mower broke. The engine needs replaced, and it was not our fault. It just was warranty or whatever. And so
How many hours did you have on the-
less than 20.
I was gonna say 10, 15.
Yeah, less than 20. Went in, did our 10-hour oil change, and they said, boy, this thing's got some problems. Which the shop said they didn't like the sound of it when they came off the trailer when it was first delivered. But anyway, so I don't know what they're doing with it, but the Pyramid was nice enough after a while. Of course, I told them that they needed to either get us a baler or a mower at that point in time. And so they gave us a mower, and so we
Poor-
lucked out.
Poor Bill, I think, got phone calls from us right back to
Bill,
back.
yeah. Well, we kind of thought, well, it can maybe last. Then we all came back from Memorial Day weekend and thought, oh my goodness, this can't last. This is a problem. So anyway, but Pyramid has a zero turn on loan to us, which is nice. So we aren't actually renting anything, which is,
It's all warranted.
it's all warranty at this point in time. But anyway, so that's happening. And then Andrew spent a bunch of time, he said the last one there, lighted X's needed for generators. So he's been working on, sounds like they're up and going now, but the X's that we use to close the runways have been not used for a long time.
Right.
So anyway, so he got them out and was going through them and changed the oil and filters and put fresh fuel in and did a whole bunch of stuff. And so they're, to the best of my knowledge, he sounded like he got them all up and going.
Yeah,
So
as far as I know, they're ready to go for our project.
for the project, yep. So
You did 4 of them?
Two.
just two,
Just 2.
yeah, one for each end, and then
Yeah.
they'll supply other barricades, it sounds like.
So what happens when you have both of them closed?
It's a good question.
The contractor will have to use snow fence or something to put an X on the numbers.
That's sufficient.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Just put tax.
Will they be closed overnight?
No,
Both
that-
runways? It'll just be for
no,
4 hours?
It's that
Yeah,
4 to
okay.
6 hours during the day so they can paint.
Yeah, okay, cool. So anyway, so that's it for the maintenance side, unless anybody has any questions. You'll notice this month, there's now that we have the mower probably around what, like June 1st or something. So they've been out there just constant going.
They've done a real good job of catching up. I know how much work that is especially when you got behind for a
Oh,
week.
yeah. Well, and the bat wing was broke at the same time, so we couldn't even hit it with the big mower.
Okay.
And then it got up and going. So then we went ahead and hit everything that it would possibly fit in, even though it doesn't look good, just to try to get it knocked down. But anyway, so they're getting caught up, which is nice. They're cleaning up. We've got a Cirrus event next week, next Thursday night, that they've invited students to and stuff like that, to come from like 100-mile radius. People that have shown interest in Cirrus aircraft or whatever, they'll be based in our hangar down there, which is cool. Last I knew, they had like over 65 RSVPs, so that's doing pretty good for something like that. That's pretty good.
That's gonna be in hangar November.
Mike,
Oh, Mike.
yeah, because that's the one that has the restroom in there.
Nice.
So we'll probably have them both open and available, but let's see here. Other than that, I have started the process. I mentioned this to Mike the other day, which is, it's more so a speculative deal, but taking the plans of the paving and stuff and working towards trying to get a quote for what it would cost someone to privately build hangars along that stretch. So there again, it's a terrible time to quote anything, and both of the people I talked to already sent me emails saying, oh yeah, the company selling the building said that they're behind on getting quotes. You know, they already told me that they were 20 weeks out on the building, let alone quotes. They're 4 weeks out to start that process. It's not that we'd be looking to do it right
Just
away.
one, it's not bad.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, so anyway, but space is definitely something we're housing, I think, 4 or 5. Just single engine airplanes are all on the hangar waiting list looking to get in. So they're paying for us month to month to try to get in our space. And then the other thing that's started to complicate that is we've had a couple of customers who now need engines overhauled. One knew it was coming, another one didn't, and those engines are 16 to 18 weeks out, and you know, the one's not based here, and so then now that's another airplane we gotta store for the next 6 months. You know, so
How much of replacement engines cost?
I actually haven't looked at the quotes. I don't know, but they're high. But I mean, a lot of it is more so availability based. I mean, the one is actually the state patrol. It's 16 to 18 weeks out, and that's with cylinders that we've already bought. Everybody else can't get cylinders, and they're, you know, so everything is there. They just can't get to it, can't get it done. But most people are waiting on the stuff, you know, so that's gonna be a problem. But anyway, so there's just an interesting world right now, but fuel continues to go up. It went up 18 cents last week. It's supposed to go up again next week. 100 lead was about 10 cents up this week, you know.
Where are we at now? That's 7?
Yeah, I think our retail now is over $7 a gallon. It's gone up $2.26 since January 1st.
Mm.
So in cost, we've actually shrunk our margin probably 40%, just trying to keep it relatively reasonable. And which is not sustainable either because we're increasing what we pay everybody. So the fuel price will keep coming up. We were just trying to soften it for as long as we could. But anyway, so it's gonna be,
As long as you're cheaper than Signature.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's
That's not hard.
not hard, yeah.
No, it's not.
That's not hard, yeah. They just, yeah, theirs is just a fixed, it just is what it is.
It's $9. regardless of where you go.
Yeah,
They just don't like piston engine.
No, they
planes.
don't.
they don't, yeah. The Cedar Rapids Airport's done a good job, though. They put that self-service in up there, and they typically, there for a while, they were just basically matching whatever our price was, as frustrating as that was. They were doing that, but that's fine. That's good. It's mainly for their tenants. I mean, because it's not handy to get there, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely not convenient. to-
no,
Transit.
but in general, business travels is actually returning. Private, personal travels coming down, but business travels back to where, some of our people, all the customers that we used to fly for that just totally cold stopped are now back flying, which is good. They stopped because of COVID travel and stuff like that. They did some personal, but
I've been seeing smaller passenger loads. I mean,
oh, sure, because it's business travel. Yes, because that was the norm for business travel is always, it's not always, but it's typically 3-4 passengers at most. Versus when we were doing a lot of personal travel, it was, how many seats does it have? And they're
Right.
stuffing as many, grandkids in the airplane as they could do or whatever it might be. So that part's changed it, but I don't know from a number of people traveling in the business. I don't know if that's changed much or not, but
just, I was thinking about business travelers and how I'm seeing lower passenger
oh, really? Okay.
on our fleet, but
Yeah.
something like the Cirrus jet may make sense for some of these business travelers if you were to fly them around. If it's just two people,
Mhm.
just have a single engine jet to go.
That's exactly right. And the biggest benefit of that anymore, especially if you think about the shortage of pilots, is the ability to get down to an airplane that's simple enough that can be flown by one person safely.
Yeah.
And so that's even things we've thought about is, I mean, shoot, you can't, our jets, you gotta have 2 pilots all the time, no matter what. Co-pilots are still pretty easy to get and build up their time, but as you look at that, it's like, well, what kind of airplane with insurance going up, what kind of airplane can you get and fly and it's safe and it's, it's not a problem for one person to do it. You gotta have it simple. So
Your jets have a single pilot
for
certification process.
the smaller ones do, but it's not allowed for commercial in those specific
Oh, okay.
ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
You look at either a Caravan or something like.
Caravans or Kodiaks or
Or maybe the
Vision
Cirrus
Jet. Yeah, some stuff like that, might be something that comes about sometime. But then at the same time, insurance is the other side of it too. So it's gotta be simple in the insurance company's eyes, whether or
Well,
not
but
it's,
the Vision Jet's got that big button that says land me.
they have land me and a parachute if things get out of hand,
Yeah.
it's pretty
That-
crazy.
that Auto land feature is pretty impressive.
It is, yeah.
I mean, if your pilot like this, it was the 206.
The dude in Florida.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
40, you just hit the button.
He would have, yeah,
You would have just hit the button, it was Cirrus.
yeah. The technology is there.
So we have a Cirrus here?
So they're coming, that's the company that's coming next week to like display
Oh,
and show
okay.
people and see about, of course, their new ones. I think they're sold out through 2025, I think, or something like that, But it's just, it's neat to get them out and really, to be honest, as we've sent it out to business people and stuff like that, I was actually have been amazed at the percentage of people I've sent it to who have said, yeah, I'm coming.
Mhm.
A lot of other things, they typically, great, you're having an open house, that's fine. But for this, there's a lot of them that are just coming, which is great. It's good to get them out to the airport and seeing what we do and stuff like that.
So what's the list price on SR-22 now?
Well, so the brand new ones are like $1 million.
Just $1 million now.
If you get the turbo with the air pump and
Yeah.
and the de-ice.
And a used one's 1.2 at the moment. so
For the same model.
for the same thing, yeah. So anyway, but definitely that'll change. And I think that inventory is starting to grow as fuel prices are coming up, and so I think it'll change. But and frustrations as it takes so long to get engines and get parts and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see how things shift around. But anyway, cool. Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, floor's open to commission members. Does anyone care to,
We already did mine of the AEDs.
My wife noticed the other day that on what feels like brand new pavement, because it mostly is, the the front apron here, that our taxiway centerline paint has diminished rapidly.
That's a good point.
I don't know what our options are there, but poking fun at the town I've called home for a long time. It's kind of like our roads, it looks like, we sidewalk chalk it's just kind of coming off. So I don't know what our options are, but it's definitely noticeable in the middle where you see the higher traffic, but when you're coming from the. So,
We'll take a look. Maybe we can sneak in some with the.
When they're out here painting.
Yeah.
Cheaper just to have them run over here and run over.
You don't want to touch up anything like that when they're.
yeah. It's really bad.
Well, the taxiway paint leading off of runway 7 onto Bravo is practically gone.
That should be part of the repaint, so.
That's what I figured you're waiting for that, but yeah, but.
Yeah, a lot of the runway stuff is, and the state inspector came out a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, a lot of the runway stuff will be, I mean, that is programmed to be done with the project. We are repainting the whole runway.
You could just turn the corner there and keep right on going.
The rest of it, we'll have to take a look and put some dollars.
Anyone else? All right, staff report.
The 15th, just double check my calendar. The 15th, I'll be out of the office. It's a Iowa Public Airports Association board meeting. The 14th, I don't think I'm going. I didn't sign up in time, but the 14th, the governor is signing the aircraft tax exemption bill. They're doing a little bit of a signing ceremony, and there's a number of airports and airport related businesses that are going to be there. And then the 17th in the afternoon, I'll be out of the office here, but I'm going to be in a strategic planning meeting with the rest of the city department heads.
You said the 17th?
Yeah.
Will you be here for that lunch thing?
Lunch thing. Yes, I will be here for the lunch thing.
Okay, cool.
And I will bug out shortly after that. I think that's all I've got.
All right, our next meeting is scheduled for the 14th. I should be here.
I'll be here.
I should be here unless I get COVID when I'm in Europe, in which case I'll be in Europe.
You might just intentionally try to get it just to stay. won't you?
Or fly back through Canada, which is what I hear people are doing now.
Not a bad idea.
They don't require any testing.
All right, well, that concludes our agenda. If there are no other items, we have a motion to adjourn.
And we'll be adjourned.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Um,
We adjourn.
All right. Thank you, everybody.